Howdy, folks, and welcome to WordPress St. Petersburg and the Advanced Gravity Forms Workshop. For you folks that are watching this after the fact on YouTube, please bear with us. We're going to be taking live questions through this, so if you're going to be listening in, you're going to be a little bit behind the stream, but just enjoy yourself when you do watch it. So let's get started with our talk we have this evening. We're going to do the Advanced Gravity Forms Workshop. It is an Ask Me Anything live stream. It'll be hosted by Travis Lopes, developer for Gravity Forms and ForGravity. And we are WordPress St. Petersburg. We meet on the first and third Tuesdays monthly. Normally we meet at the Suncoast Developers Guild, but right now during our quarantine COVID time, we're going to be meeting on LiveStream. If you have never gone to our meetup before, it's at meetup.com, WordPress St. Petersburg. Our website is wptampabay.org. We have a Slack chat, a Facebook group, and all of our meetups are actually listed there. So tonight we are being hosted, or this our Ask Me Anything thing is hosted by Travis Lopes. Travis, do you want to talk about yourself?
Yeah, so I am one of the developers over at Gravity Forms, and hold on, here's a cat coming by. And so I'm working on the Gravity Forms product and all of our add-ons day to day. But I also run a plugin shop called ForGravity. And ForGravity, we have a suite of Gravity Forms add-ons. We kind of, not by design, we just ended up being plugins that are kind of based around data security, where like advanced permissions is good about locking down access to specific parts of Gravity Forms on a per form basis. There's entry automation, which allows you to export your Gravity Forms entries out of Gravity Forms in a couple different formats, along with deleting the entries, which is great for keeping sensitive data out of Gravity or out of your website as much as possible. And there's also fillable PDFs, which allows you to generate those kind of the PDFs that you see like with the fields that you can type in. We generate those PDFs for you based off of your Gravity Forms entries. And it's run by myself and one of Carl Potter, who is one of the support members over at Gravity Forms. So it's a purely Gravity Forms supported or built by people who work on Gravity Forms day in and day out.
Awesome. What do you do at Gravity Forms? Or did you already say that?
I did already say that, but
okay, good. I thought you did.
One of the core developers over there.
Awesome. Okay, so for our format tonight, our code of conduct for tonight. There are no stupid questions except the one you didn't ask. So if you have a question tonight, please go ahead and ask it. We are going to be spending about 5 to 10 minutes per question, so we can try to handle all the questions that have come in through our meetup and have also come in through our Facebook group, our Facebook Live group, and through our YouTube chat. We are probably about 5 minutes lag between what we're doing live and what you guys are seeing online, so be aware of that. You can ask your questions on YouTube chat. You can ask your questions on the Facebook Live chat. Or you can bring it online. We have a link. Let me actually pull that little link up real quick. We have a link that you can join the call with. It's a StreamYard.com and that crazy block of numbers down there. And if you link on that, that will invite you into our StreamYard. It will drop you into you'll have to give it access to your microphone and your video camera, but it'll drop you into our green room and we can bring you on the call as a video question. So if you want to do that, please be aware that that's what's going to happen. And we'll bring you in, we'll let you ask your question, and then we'll kick you out so that we can get more room for other questions coming in. Okay, so let's get started. I'm going to go ahead and take that thing off, and I'll probably go ahead and take my screen off at this point. So we will go back to here. We have a question from the meetup, which is what we're going to start with. A question from Kevin. I'm aware of the Gravity Forms CSS Ready classes, but what is the best way to customize the look of Gravity Forms to best integrate with a theme or website?
So Gravity Forms does a good job. We try to stay as hands-off as possible. We try to give you that good form markup, and like we do some minimal CSS around like trying to give like a decent layout around it. Like if you use some like the Ready classes and stuff to make sure like it displays properly. But otherwise, we leave it up to the theme to really decide like how stuff should be displayed. That way, you're not constantly battling against the styles that Gravity Forms provide. So you're not have to go in your markup and putting like exclamation point important over everything to override what we're doing.
Yep. And if you're working with, there's a couple of plugins out there that can do some CSS styling, and they'll actually apply some styles that they aren't written by us. So they're not things that we physically support. But typically, if you call into us with your support calls with some simple CSS stuff, we can usually help you out and tweak it and stuff like that. But the idea is that design your website, design your forms to look good with the theme of your website, and if you do that, the Gravity Forms will look fine in most cases.
Yeah. Because all we're using for pretty much the only like exception is probably the multi-file upload field. Pretty much everything is a native, just straight up HTML input element. So it will just inherit whatever stylings that your theme is throwing at it.
Sounds good. Okay, got another question in here from Tammy. Best practices for taking online orders through Gravity Form using Stripe.
So like best practices would be best practices for like taking for payments anywhere, really, which is making sure like you have an SSL certificate set up. You want to make sure like your FTP passwords are secure or somewhat like strong. Same thing with your user account passwords, like making sure you just protect your data on your site as much as possible. And you really want to use like if the online orders, like you don't need that data in there long term, like once you have that Stripe payment, you're able to process it. I would recommend deleting those entries from your site as soon as possible. And you could do that with built into Gravity Forms. There is, I'll go ahead and
let me get your screen up there real quick. Yeah, no problem. Oop, wrong one. There we go.
So I'm over here in the forms, in the settings for one of the forms. I'm going to the personal data tab, and there is a retention policy that you can set up. By default, you're retaining entries indefinitely, like they're always around. But you can also set them up to be sent to the trash automatically after a certain number of days, or you can have them be permanently deleted after a certain number of days. So that's a good way that you can not keep that sensitive data around. If you need something a little more advanced than that, you can use entry automation. You can go in here. We have like the delete entries action. And then you can do some conditional logic around like what tasks or what entries are being deleted. Or you could even go a step further and not delete the entire entry, but you could delete specific field data from the entry. So like the most sensitive stuff. So that way that's not lingering around on your server.
Well, in best practices too, you didn't talk about doing the test server and the production.
That's true too. Yeah, like and this is like this goes past just using Gravity Forms with Stripe. You should always have a test server set up that you're testing all the plugins you have set up. Like you should never do updates first on your production site. You should always do them on your staging site. And you should also have that staging site there so you can put your payment, or you can put Stripe in a sandbox mode and go through and test your payment flow and make sure everything's going correctly. Yeah. And then, of course, and this is the mistake that a lot of people make. They assume that because sandbox is working, that production is going to work too. Always when you launch it, go run a transaction against your production account and just refund yourself, so you can ensure that it's working properly.
Those are pretty straightforward ones.
Yeah.
That's the big one we always say in support is always make sure that you've got a sandbox set up, because you never want to test anything updated on live. You always want to make sure that you've got a sandbox to go back to, because once your sandbox is working, then you do it on live.
Yeah. And you never want to find out that the form you thought you had working properly with Stripe is not working, and you have captured none of that money, because then you have to go down and hound all of those submitters to get your money.
Exactly. All right, next question. Daniel Shootsmith asks, are there any new features or add-ons in the roadmap that you're extra excited about?
Daniel, great question. If you're a Gravity Forms customer, if you go over to the support page, there is a new button located here under support resources called the Gravity Forms Roadmap. And this roadmap has a number of items that are we're talking about publicly, that are either under consideration, that are planned or have recently launched. And you can go in here for some of these items like the repeater field form editor UI. If you go ahead and click in this card, you'll see some information about it. And then you can also give us some feedback of how important that issue is to you. And I believe here at the bottom, there's also a plus button. So if you want to submit a feature request, you can do it right here. Outside of what's listed here, we've got a pretty big update coming soon for Gravity Forms. The one thing I can mention about it is we are doing a lot around accessibility. If I believe last year or maybe the year before, there was a post that went up about our commitment to accessibility. We've been working with Rian Reitveld. She was the former WordPress accessibility team lead, and she's been working directly with us, auditing Gravity Forms and going through like all our markup, and we're making everything as accessible as possible. So that'll be a big change that you'll see coming soon to Gravity Forms.
Awesome. Okay, next question. Let's see. Vijay Victorious, with market trends and advancements in the digital space, are there any preemptive projects for ForGravity is working on, or are you going to be adapting with the flow? That looks like a question for ForGravity.
Yeah. We keep an eye a bit on what's going on in the space, but like our product lineup, and there were two products we were selling beforehand that we no longer have because like it just grew outside of like where we want to go as a company. But all of these projects were born out of client projects. Like there was some sort of previous need that we saw that I worked directly with someone on, that I ended up feeling like I feel like there's a need enough out there for this to be a product. So I productized it, and it's worked out pretty well so far. And that's important for me, like having that validation beforehand, because I also need to have some sort of buy-in to the project. I don't want to just chase after whatever trends are out there, because if I'm not interested in it, yes, I might make some money off it at the start, but I'm not going to be able to sustain that because I'm not going to be interested in growing that product. And then for the products that do exist, it's just partially watching what other people might be doing similarly to that plugin, but also just listening to the customers, listening to what things that either are missing for them right now, both existing and new customers, or listening to things that they're having difficulties with and just trying to improve those difficulties so that they can use the products easier. Like there's yeah.
Oh, I was going to say, how do you feel like maybe Gravity Forms is actually dealing with that particular question as well?
I think Gravity Forms is dealing with that well. Like one thing I feel people don't entirely understand is like they ask like, hey, like I've been asking for this specific feature for quite a while. Like why isn't it in there? And it's very much a juggle between like the Gravity Forms, like trying to maintain the Gravity Forms core product, our whole suite of add-ons, which I think is like about 40 right now.
About 40, yeah.
Yeah, so it's trying to actively maintain all those, and that can be difficult in and of itself, because sometimes like actively maintaining those add-ons is not necessarily adding new features. It's just making sure, because the majority of those 40 are integrating with third parties, and sometimes it's just doing updates to make sure like it stays up to date with the API. And on top of that, like some features that might seem easy to implement, when you're trying to implement that in a plugin that's used on millions of sites, it's a very more difficult task, because you're trying to juggle like adding this new enhancement while making sure nothing breaks, because we have a deep commitment to backwards compatibility and making sure nothing breaks when you do a major update to your site.
Makes sense. Okay. All right, next question. Zhao Eduardo, with the cute little Kermit picture, has hi there. Is there a way to customize the output of product items in an easy way? I had to change things in comment.php file of a Gravity Form plugin.
I would lead off with, you should never edit a plugin file, Gravity Forms or otherwise. Like you should always be staying, because as soon as you update that plugin, you're going to lose all those modifications.
Yeah.
And if you were to contact Gravity Form support and say, hey, I made a modification to that file, we're going to tell you like we can't help you, because that's not what we provide. If you Unfortunately, I can't like pull up the file right now to see like specifically what's going on in there. But I imagine that there is some sort of filter available, and if there isn't for that, I would recommend reaching out to the support team and see if they have any recommendations, or possibly a filter could be added. Because we very frequently, customers will write in wanting to modify something, and they're unable to, and we end up adding filters for customers to be able to do that.
Yeah. And Zhao, if you've got a, or Zhou, I'm not sure how to pronounce your name, but yeah, if you've got a support account with us, if you have an actual active license, you can open a ticket on that, and we can probably get on it pretty quickly, as far as like finding out what the issue actually is and go from there.
Yeah. If you have an active license, it never hurts to reach out to support.
Yeah.
The team is very quick about getting back to people. And like I see frequently online, like people asking these questions just out to the world. And it's like, man, like if you just reached out to the support team, you would have your question answered very quickly.
Okay, looks like we have another question from the YouTube chat this time. Tom Whitaker asks, what's the expectation for when repeater fields come out of beta?
When repeater fields come out of beta, that's a very good question. As you can see, like as we just pointed out on the Gravity Forms roadmap, the repeater field form editor UI is on there as a planned item. But outside of that, we've had our focus on other things right now, including like a heavy push on the accessibility. So it's definitely something that's on our minds. It's not something that we've forgotten. But as far as a specific date or any kind of rough date, I unfortunately can't answer that.
Okay, I think that's a valid answer. Ken asks, what is the best location to learn how to use Gravity Form to edit posts, not just Gravity Form entries? I would like to create a form to allow a user to edit a post using the same form they're used to create it. I think I can answer part of that, but if you want to go ahead and talk about...
No, Jim, I'll let you go ahead and...
Yeah. The Advanced Post Creation add-on has a enhancement for editing posts, but it is on a future roadmap, so it's not available yet. The only plugin I am aware of that allows you to edit existing posts is the Pods Gravity Forms add-on. And we're not going to talk about that tonight because this is a talk about Gravity Forms. But if you want to join our live stream in 2 weeks and ask that question, Ken, we will talk about it if you want to. As far as there are some other ways around that too, though. You can actually, like, depending on what you're trying to do, if you can get the information into the form, and you can get the information for the post ID in the form, you can actually do a post action. So, like, if you have a form that you've submitted, you can do an action after the end of the submission to actually take that information that came into the form and do something else with it.
Yeah.
Just depending on how complicated and good you are at that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we have the filters are available out there to push data into the form, and after the submission, update a post from that. It would require a little bit of coding, but it wouldn't be terribly difficult because the WordPress API functions for updating an existing post, updating post meta, are pretty straightforward and easy to use.
Yeah, it depends on how much you're changing the data from what it actually is after you've submitted it initially and to what it is after the fact. So, like, if you're using like ACF and doing a lot of like serialized arrays or any of that kind of thing, most of that stuff is not covered. WooCommerce, there's a lot of very complicated connections in there as well. So let's see. Our next question comes from Devin Beveridge. How can I have answers on a form get added to the URL as they answer? This would make segmenting based on form answers much easier via Facebook's URL tracking.
That won't be something you can do out of the box. I'm not aware of any third-party plugins out there that can do that. What you'll just want to do is just build some custom JavaScript that monitors the form fields like as they tab out of them and push those field values to query parameters in the current URL.
Okay. And one other option too is that if you're trying to capture values from your form and put them into a form redirect, you can actually do multi-stage forms and let those forms communicate to each other. And those separate stages of those forms could actually be the places where you're trying to collect those segments. So that might be an option too. like a confirmation, using the confirmation redirect strings would be what you would be talking about.
Which I believe you could use that in conjunction with the Facebook tracking pixel.
Do you want to show them where that might be inside the Gravity Forms backend?
The the confirmation.
No, the confirmation redirects. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. So if you go, I'm in the settings for a form here. I'm in the confirmations tab, and I'll go ahead and add a new confirmation. And there's 3 different confirmation types you can have with Gravity Forms. It's you can have text, which is just straight up text that replaces the form on the current page.
Like saying, thank you for submitting.
Yeah. You can redirect to a specific page, and this is specifically a page post type on your website. And along with that, you can pass field data via a query string, which you can populate the query string using our merge tags, which are available very quickly through the dropdown next to it. Or you can do a redirect to a URL that might not be a page. It could be offsite from your website with the same query string option.
Yep. Thank you. Okay. We have a question from North Carolina. Let's see. Gravity Form is uploading to Dropbox only when logging is on. How come? And is there known or unique to our setup? Or is this a known issue or unique to our setup? It's not a complex site. That's actually going to be a support question, Don. You need to bring that to support so we can look and see what's going on.
Yeah. If I had to guess, like maybe because logging is on, it's disabling some sort of caching on the site from running. So maybe things are running differently in that regard. But that's just a total shot in the dark. You absolutely have to, that's something for support.
We're almost running out of questions already. That was quick. Let's see. Here we have one. How about Capture version 3?
Yeah, there have been a lot of requests for this. I don't know. I believe it's under consideration.
Yeah,
Recapture V3.
One of the biggest issues I know on this one is it's not accessible.
Yeah.
That is the biggest issue, I think, as far as why we haven't pushed it crazily fast, is because it's not accessible.
Yeah. And because Recapture 3, it has to be embedded on every page of your site. It's constantly collecting data and sending it to Google, which could be a privacy issue for you. But if you feel that it is like an extremely important thing to have, please go to our roadmap. If you go, it's in the under consideration tab in the integration section. Go ahead and under how important is this to you, go ahead and click the critical or important links. And that registers it directly in our product roadmap for us to be able to determine what features to implement.
Okay, we have a long form question coming in here. Okay, hang on a second. It's going to be in 3 parts. Kellen asked, does something similar to WordPress's taxonomies exist for Gravity Forms? Example, I'm going to have tens of thousands of entries and need to be able to query for which ones were submitted for one company versus a different company. Saving entries as WordPress posts is not an option. I need them to stay form entries so they work with other Gravity Forms plugins I use. So I think what he's looking for is like a way to organize the entries.
Yeah. The built-in filtering in Gravity Forms, or even if you wanted to get in at the code level and you wanted to use the Gravity Forms API, has pretty robust filtering that you can do with it, where you don't necessarily need taxonomies to be able to filter the data you need. Where you can, like, if you need to do some stuff with code, you could use the get entries method we have in the Gravity Forms API. And we have a full breakdown here of the search criteria that you can provide. And it shows you how you can filter based on specific field values. That's what I would recommend. I feel like trying to group it otherwise might be overkill.
Well, and Callan, are you aware of like admin fields? Because you can add fields to your form that are not hidden, and they're not on the form. They're actually called administrative, and they are specifically designed to add organization to your entries because they're meant to be completed by people who actually are at the admin only level of your form. So that that's another option too. So let's see, we have another new question. Kellen, if you get a chance, let us know if that actually answered your question for you.
Yeah, we're just trying, like, that's as best of an answer like at least I can give based on the use case you provided us.
Yeah. And I know with I know you can add in those particular fields, any field you want, into the column list in Gravity Forms. So you've got a lot of capabilities there. Okay, here's a new question from Inventiva Design from YouTube. How do you pass query string that are populated at the moment, like the address or other unique fields? We actually showed that, but we could show it again and actually give an example.
Yeah, I believe you mean if you mean like passing it at the end, you can do it here in the confirmations with pass field data via query string, which you can just build your query string like URL equals, and you can put your or like email here. But I think what you might be, if I understand the question correctly, I think what you might be asking is like if you have something like a parameter in your existing URL and you want to populate that into the form when the form appears.
Yeah.
Which, if that's the case, you can go in here. I'm going to edit this email field. Go over to the Advanced tab, and you want to enable Allow Field to be populated dynamically. Once you populate this with a parameter name like this, is an email field, so I'm just going to set it to email. I'll go ahead and hit Update. Wait for it to save, preview the form. Here is the form loading by default, but if I go ahead and add an email query parameter here, it will go ahead and populate that field value with the query parameter value, which I believe is what you're asking. Yeah.
Yeah. And you can also pull those in, those dynamic population. You can pull those values in through the shortcode. You can pull them in through a hook. And you can also pull them in through user merge tag or through merge tags as well to set default value. Yeah. So those are definitely a lot of options there.
Yeah. The default merge tags are limited to some basic meta, like I think like the current page URL, the user's IP address, and if the user's logged in, you can get their user meta, but you can't get any of the field values live. Now, if you wanted to get the field values live while you're on the form, I would recommend Gravity Perks has a plugin called Populate Anything, which allows you, it's a pretty powerful plugin. You can populate field like values and drop-down choices and stuff based on query parameters, other posts on the site, users on the site. I think they're even like adding support soon for like even like past that.
Oh yeah, they've got live merge tags right there. So
and live merge tags.
Yeah.
Which was a ForGravity plugin. Live population. We did live merge tags, and then Gravity took it over and built it into the Populate Anything plugin here.
Okay, we have another question from Facebook this time. How would you use Gravity Forms to extend user profiles on the front end? Use case WooCommerce memberships. Let me jump in a little bit here.
Yeah.
Because if you're doing anything with WooCommerce, the biggest issue you're going to have is the fact that WooCommerce is pulling a lot of their data out of the regular WordPress structure. They're pulling it away from the user database. They're pulling it away from WP Post and WP Post Meta. So you need to be very aware of the fact that you may create something, but then may break it down the road because WooCommerce is going to the CRUD. They're going to their own external tables for a lot of stuff. And anytime you need to integrate with their actual order form or their shopping cart or their anything that's part of their e-commerce chain, you absolutely have to use their methods. So that's a big caveat there, but we'll let you take the rest of it from here.
No, I think you got it covered. I personally haven't been like big in like the user profile or like user management space.
Yeah.
So I'm not aware of much other than integrating with the user registration add-on, which can update user meta on existing user accounts.
Well, even when we do integrations with Gravity Forms and user registration, things like MemberPress or LearnDash and that kind of a thing, in every single situation like that, we're updating user meta, but the display of that meta on the profile, the handling of that meta on the profile is totally external from Gravity Forms. Every single bit of that is managed by those plugins. And that's kind of how you have to think about it, that we may actually be able to write user meta for you. We may be able to write custom meta for you, but your registering of that meta, your registering of those custom post types, your display of that custom post type, your display of that custom meta is totally at the control of the other plugins.
Now we do offer with the Gravity Forms shortcode there is a user action on it where you can display. Let me pull up the documentation real quick on this.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
A user shortcode, user information shortcode. So it's an action on the Gravity Forms shortcode that you can optionally supply the user ID for the user. By default, it will pull in the whatever user is currently logged in, and then you provide the user meta key, and it will automatically replace that shortcode with that user meta value. And you can also choose for if it's a field that has multiple values, like it's an array of data, you can choose to like output it as a HTML unordered list, as a CSV, a comma separated list, or just the raw JSON data.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Okay.
And to know all the content is escaped before. We don't, even if you output raw, we do escape it, so you can't, so nothing goes amok.
We answered Inventiva's designs question properly. So I have another question from Ken Kramer. Why do HTML fields not appear in notifications? I am aware that the all fields template from GravityWiz, but not solution for a notification I'm working on during this meeting.
Yeah, for when you use the all fields merge tag and notifications, it excludes any display only fields like that. And the HTML one is a display only field. Similar how the password field is also display only, so it would not be included in your notification.
Cool.
So if you need to include that kind of HTML data, you're going to have to either include it separately in your notification. Maybe you break out instead of like using the all fields merge tag. Maybe use a separate merge tags for everything. But I don't think using the merge tag on that HTML field is going to include the contents of that HTML field. It mainly just pulls in values that were submitted to specific fields.
Okay. Kellen's got a novel going on here. I almost would like to say, Kellen, join our video chat so you can ask these questions live.
Yeah, Kellen, join in.
Yeah, join the video chat call. Yeah, because this is getting a little long here.
Yeah.
He's getting, basically, I'm looking for something more performant than querying tens of thousands of entries by their meta values. I think I'll stick with get entries for now, then consider creating a separate lookup table to mimic. And then here we got a new question. When a draft entry is created on the server, the field values are stored as JSON data and the draft submissions database table under both the submitted values and partial entry keys. What is the difference between the data and submitted values and partial entry? And what is it? Well, submitted is actually the submitted form. Partial entry means that you've got the partial entries add-on, and it's what they have collected up to that point until they've actually submitted the key. The only final entry is ever going to be in submitted values. Your partial entries, go ahead.
Yeah, if I'm understanding correctly, the draft submissions, I believe, is for save and continue. So those entries, those aren't actual entries yet. Those are stored in a completely separate table until they come back and submit. They resume and submit the form. Now, the partial entries is just collecting the entry data so you can kind of capture like abandoned leads that may like fall off while they're filling out the form. So that's why partial entries are stored directly in the entries table with just a partial entry like meta
status. I think. That's it on our questions at this point. I do not believe we have any additional ones. So, folks, we need questions.
Yeah.
Can't believe we got through that many in less than a half an hour. Wow. We're way too good.
Yeah, I don't think we missed anything.
No, we did not. Let's see. Trying to think of anything else I could think of. There's like no questions coming in right now. We're actually like in good space. We have 28 viewers at the moment too, so.
And it's hard to like come up with something to talk about just because there's so many like so many different things to talk about. Yeah.
Exactly. I know we get a lot of them through we get a lot of complaints, I should say, in support about us not having like these pretty form generators. And my first answer is that it's an HTML form and it just works. So that's the kind of thing about it, is like if you design, if you work your design for your theme to design the form, you're not going to have any issues whatsoever with our forms. Oh, how funny. Tom is asking. Yeah, we're not going to post that one on there, I don't think. Should we post that one in?
Go ahead and post it.
Yeah. So we have a question on the thing. How much money would it take for Travis to leave Gravity Forms?
You could throw a lot of money at me. I'm not going to leave
Yeah.
because it's not a money thing. It's
Yeah.
the culture at Gravity Forms. It's great. Like you're hard to find another company like it. It empowers people to like do what they're there to do. And then that's why why the product is what it is today.
I'm trying to like egg on people to join the call in to make a video call in.
Yeah.
So
please, Kellen, call in because I think there's some. We could discuss that a little bit. Your get entries thing.
Definitely. So let's see.
Could you take my screen down for a moment, please?
I sure can. Hang on. Remove from screen. There you go. No problem. Let me put the banner up for the video call in. Oh yeah, while you're here, don't forget to like and subscribe us on YouTube. You can also visit our website at wptampabay.org. We have a list of all of our meetups there. All of our past videos are on our website. It's a pretty useful resource. And so we'll put this back up again. So if you have a question, join the call. It'll be fun, honest. Let's see. Another question. Let's see. From Ken, follow-up regarding HTML fields. I have a list field to show information on a screen. Then we format the data they submitted to a different layout, so the HTML field would be helpful.
Format the data. Yeah, just out of the box, the all fields. We just don't support it.
Yeah.
So
on a
not much I
field,
can.
Yeah. A list field, you'd want to output that. You'd want to design that regardless. I think.
Yeah.
Oops, sorry, wrong. Pop that baby off. That was Carl.
Saying he is an unbiased agreement and working at Gravity Forms and couldn't throw any money at him.
I think I am posting that into the YouTube chat, but there you go. Here's the link into the YouTube chat again. There you go to it, Tom. I just posted that back in there again to you. We have a question from a Facebook user. Is there a Gravity Form swag store?
There is not, but there could be in the future, from what I hear.
Okay, we'll keep that down for our management and marketing, and let them know that people want to buy clothes from us.
Yeah, I did hear that. Unfortunately, because we were sponsoring WordCamp Asia, and that ended up being canceled because of what's going on. I hear that there is a lot of Gravity Forms swag that is sitting out in Taiwan. So I guess if you're able to make it out there, I guess you could get a shirt. Or sorry, not Taiwan, Thailand. Sorry, Thailand.
Yeah, Thailand. That's right. Yeah. We have a question from Steve Curtis. Are you a bass player, Travis?
Yes, but I'm not very good at it. I have both a bass and a guitar in the background. These are just the ones that's in the office. There's a couple in the other room. Yeah. That is definitely not a topic for this discussion.
No. And we have a comment from Ken again. The marketing manager lives about 5 miles from me in Pennsylvania. Haven't met him yet due to COVID. So, all right, folks, get your questions in. I don't have any myself, unfortunately. Yeah. I mean, I use the thing. I use Gravity Forms for everything. Do you want your screen back up or no?
Not quite yet, but I was going to highlight. We did just release about 2 weeks ago a new payment gateway. Integration for Mali, which Mali is pretty neat. It's mainly geared toward European customers, but their amount of control they provide around like what kind of payment method you can accept on your website is pretty impressive. Like I've never seen that many payment methods allowed through any payment processor before. Yeah, it's amazing.
Exactly. Quite true. Got a new question from Inventiva Design. I have installed the add-on for user registration. Can a user update more than just a name, last name, and password? Yes.
Yes, absolutely. Give me just a second here. Let me see if I have a form already built out for that. Update user. Here we go.
And we have Kellen is ready to join the call, but whenever you're. Go ahead and finish that. You need to. Oh, hang on a second.
Can you
again? Yep.
So I have a very simple form here. that because I was just using it to test something the other day. That just two fields. It's just a basic single line text field for a website, paragraph field for a biography. Then if I go into the user registration feeds for this form, I have an update user one set up. And you can go in when you're running user registration update user feed, you can control the basic user settings, which is the first name, last name, nickname, display name, password, email address, and role. But then there's also the user meta. Right now I have those two website and biography fields mapped to the built-in, we have a group here for standard user meta that's built directly into WordPress, which it's amazing that the Yahoo and the Google Talk and the AIM ones still exist, 2020, I will say.
Yeah, kind of strange. Yeah.
But then we also list any other custom user meta keys that we've detected on the site, along with the ability to just add a brand new custom user meta key right here. So you can push any kind of user meta directly from your form.
Cool. All right, I'm going to bring Kellen into the call now. Hey, Kellen, unmute your call or your phone real quick. Let's see. Unmute mic.
There we are.
There you go. You're live. Go ahead.
Yeah.
All right, thanks. Appreciate it.
Oh, sorry. Let's see. Try it this way. There we go.
Share screen. Yeah, so so thank you first of all for the answers. My first two questions there. The one regarding partial entries and the submitted entries. Let me share my screen real quick.
Okay. Once you get it up there, I'll pop it into the screen.
All right, permissions, things I have to approve.
Yeah, and if you're on a Mac, you're going to have to do the weird one, maybe.
Dang.
Oh, there you go.
Did that work? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, so this is what I was referring to here. And before I launch into this, have you guys heard of this project that I have begun?
I've heard of it, but I have not used GraphQL.
Okay.
So it's, yeah.
Yeah, so I've been building this harness software where I work with Tom, who's also on the call. We had a need for exposing Gravity Forms data via a GraphQL API. So I've been working on building out this plugin. And one of the things I've been a little confused about is drafts. So I have mechanisms built in for like creating a new draft, updating that draft with new form field values as the user works through the form, and then ultimately submitting it and turning it into a permanent entry. All of that works. One thing I've never been quite clear on is this column in the database table here. So this is like draft submissions here. And then the submission column, this is what I was referring to with my question, where there's like submitted values, and then you have some field values here. And another key is partial entry. And they appear to be like the same values in both, except the partial entry has a few other things. I think it might capture the user agent.
Yeah.
Source URL, like one or two other things.
Well, that's the actual full JSON submission, isn't it?
It is. So my question is partial entry only for like the partial entries Gravity Forms add-on, and I wouldn't really need to be concerned about this if I'm saving draft data. I would really only need to be concerned with submitted values, or vice versa.
Yeah. Let me I'm gonna pull up PHP Storm in the background here and take a quick look into the code base, but I believe that partial entry part of the object is all the meta that's around the entry, like outside of the submitted values. But let me double check real quick here.
Okay, from what I can tell, it's both. It's form entry values as well as the other.
Have you? Let me see. Partial entry. Yeah, partial entries. Grabbing the submission. Dun.
We're getting your kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you? Yeah. I think the partial entry part of the object is just giving you all that extra form, like all the extra columns that are there and all the extra meta, just like easily available in the submission, because I believe it takes that submission object and that's how it converts it into an entry.
Okay. To build out my plugin, like I was submitting some drafts. I was using the save and continue feature.
Mm-hmm.
noticing that like both of them, it seems like the field values get populated here and submitted values and also inside of the partial entry. So in the plugin, what I've done just for safety more than anything else is just put them in both places.
Yeah.
So when a user updates one of the fields within a draft, I just save it in both of these, just to mimic like what I was seeing Gravity Forms do.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was just interested in like really the difference between what those two are used for.
Yeah, as far as my understanding is, that's like why it exists. Is submitted values is just purely the field values, and then like the partial entry is like all the meta that goes around everything that isn't the field values in that entry is in that object.
Okay, thank you.
And then,
sorry, go ahead.
I was just like going on to your other question about the get entries method.
Oh yeah.
GF API. I would recommend, like, if you're doing something really crazy custom, to just use directly our GF query class that's available, which is what the API is powered by, which allows you to do like more complex queries with it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I was just thinking about having tens of thousands of entries and doing a query based on entry meta, and thinking about whether I would get performant queries with that, and if there was a way to group them together, like I was saying, because we're going to have entries that are associated with one company versus another company. So I'd love to be able to have something like WordPress's taxonomy system to say, to have those indexed in the database and very quickly separate like all company A from company B or whatever. But
the GF query class is pretty performant. It was initially built like in partnership with the folks over at Gravity View. And they were really focused on, because of like what they focus on, which is displaying and filtering data. They were very focused as part of that on making it performant. And we did a lot of tests to like bring that thing as quick as possible. So I would like give that a shot, or even like forking the GF query class to like make any modifications you need to the query builder.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Last one from me. I don't want to take up too much more time, but I've seen Carl Hancock on Twitter, like when the topic of headless WordPress and GraphQL and stuff came up in relation to Gravity Forms. I've seen him chime in once or twice in the conversation saying, we'll be tackling this, like meaning, official support for GraphQL would be added. Do you have any idea if that's like on the roadmap, and official support for GraphQL API?
I can't directly speak to that. No.
Okay. Have you, Kellen, have you actually gone to the roadmap piece inside your Gravity Forms support and put in your request for that?
No.
Go to support.gravityforms.com, and down on the bottom right when you're logged in, there's the roadmap link. Click on that and make sure that you put your requests in there.
Yeah, because that will get it directly into our system, where we take in like everyone's submissions and we properly categorize them, put them on our roadmap, track interest in it. And that's how we end up deciding a lot of things now.
Right.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah. Anything else?
No, I think I'm good for now. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks, Kellen. Thank you for joining the call. Okay.
And it is, I just did a double check. It is, GraphQL is registered in our system, but definitely the more requests for it, the better.
Awesome. Okay. I've got a question from Alan Craddock. Aside from ForGravity, what are your suggested add-ons?
But there was a main group I would refer to that are kind of like the go-to groups of plugin developers. There's the folks over at Gravity Wiz, who I mentioned previously. They have Gravity Perks, which is they have a suite of add-ons that do things from very small modifications like marking a field as read-only, to doing crazy stuff like nested forms, doing live populations of field data. There is, Gravity Flow, which will allow you to build workflows around your form submissions. That could be doing like approval workflows and all kinds of crazy other stuff. There is Gravity View, I believe it's gravityview.co, which will allow you to display Gravity Forms data directly on your website in different kinds of ways, like in lists and tables. You can embed like Google Maps with it. You can do like all kinds of crazy stuff. There's also the guys over at JetSloth, and they mainly have plugins that are enhancements to your form fields, including like adding tooltips on the front end to your forms, a color picker field, collapsible sections that, like, if you need to have groups that toggle like this, and image choices, which is a popular one, which allows you to put images with your checkbox and radio fields,
or quizzes or surveys.
Yeah, or quizzes or surveys. Yeah, those are the ones I would, like, off the top of my head, that I would recommend.
Yeah. What about Gravity PDF?
Gravity PDF too. Yeah, I was just highlighting the paid ones.
Oh, okay.
There's also, like, if you go into the WordPress repository, there's also Gravity PDF, which will allow you to generate PDFs. They are more of a, like, HTML and PHP template based, rather than like taking an existing PDF and generating PDFs from it. So yeah.
Okay. All right. Next question. Hi, Travis. Are you aware of any booking plugins that integrate well with Gravity Forms?
Yeah. Cameron, that is a very good question. And I am not. I know there's G-Appointments, which is, I believe it's on Code Canyon.
They have their own site. They have their own website.
Oh, G-Appointments.com, yeah.
Yeah.
I can't personally vouch for this one. I don't know if you've ever used it yourself, Jim.
I have never used it because it's a premium plugin, and I don't think we have a copy of it. But it does seem to have fairly good flexibility.
Yeah.
So
you can go in here. You can choose a service for date and time. So. Yeah, I know. I worked on a project once where we tried to integrate like a third-party booking service, and it is very difficult to do because of all the complexities involved in scheduling. There's a reason why there's like only one or two plugins probably out there for this. But yeah, G-Appointments would probably be my recommendation, but I can't personally vouch for it.
Yeah, booking is a really complicated world. Anytime you're doing like date and time math, and then removing those date and time options based on what people have made choices of, it gets really messy pretty quickly. So, not seeing any other questions popping through. Had a comment about performance issues with Gravity View when working with 3,000 plus entries. We love the plugin, but there are some issues for sure. So, hello from Sarasota. Interesting. Cameron comes back with testing G-Appointments now. It's got a nice UI. Their domain lapsed recently, so it got me concerned. So,
Eric from Sarasota, big fan of pods.
Yep. Some people got to keep mentioning the pods. It's a Gravity Forms call, guy. We're not talking the pods, not tonight anyway. So no one's doing the video, but at least we got one person call in. Come on, anybody. Come on, somebody dial into the call. It's fun.
I feel like this is like a telethon where we're trying to get people to call in, like, very desperately.
I know. Yeah, exactly. I know. Well, it just takes up more time on the call, that kind of thing. Like, I hate this because we have we've gone through all of our prepared questions. But, we're at an hour, so if we only do an hour, we only do an hour.
Guys haven't thrown anything really difficult at us. Like, come on.
No, nothing at all.
No.
And guys, you got 7 minutes. 7 minutes, and we'll end the broadcast. Well, thank you, Ken, for sounding like a DJ. I didn't mean to sound like a DJ. Would you rather I sounded like an NPR host? I could almost do that, I think. We've got Eric, who's a Gravity Form Elite subscriber for many years. Yeah, this was the neat thing I found out when I was down at the WordCamp Miami, was because we had the table at WordCamp Miami, and we had a lot of people coming up to us. And what was neat was to find out the folks who had been, either a developer license or Gravity Form Elite license or any of those kind of licenses had been working with us for several years. They almost never open support tickets. And I said, and they said that the reason they don't is because we have good documentation, and our plugin's actually pretty easy to work with.
If you haven't already, check out docs.gravityforms.com. We have a crazy, I want to say it's like 1,500 articles in there. Like, there's a lot of articles.
Yeah, because just on the developer side, there's quite a few just for each of the filters and stuff. So
every filter is documented, almost the majority of them with examples of how to use them. And like anything you might need to do with Gravity Forms, that's in there. We have documentation for it.
And use the search. It works.
Yeah, use the search.
So, golly, people are just being quiet today. 5 minutes, folks. If we don't get any new questions, I'm going to have to end the call. Oh, wait a minute. Here we go. Let me see. Okay, here we go. Travis, my employer from Killabusy. My employer has a license for your entry automation plugin. Is there anything on the roadmap for including file uploads in the exports?
It is on the roadmap, yes. I have been wanting to do that for a bit. It's just just trying to juggle 3 products when it's not your full-time job. And trying to get as many updates out as we can. We will be publishing an update pretty soon for fillable PDFs. We're just waiting a security audit right now. And some pretty good stuff in there. We're going to be doing some integrations with Gravity View to be able to display your PDFs there. Just being able to display generated PDFs on a block, stuff like that. But including uploaded files in the exports are absolutely on a roadmap. Hopefully for this year.
Got another... Oh, hey, Kevin. Killabusy was Kevin. Okay, so we have...
And Carl coming in with the fact that 1,479 documentation articles on the Gravity Docs site.
There you go. So here's another one from Devin. Hey, how do you get form answers to add to the URL as the user answers them from page to page? Goal being an end URL that reflects their specific answers for trapping. I think we answered this at the beginning, so if you rewatch the stream, you'll see that. That's in the redirect queries, but a lot of that is going to be dependent on if you're trying to do it from page to page. That's not really going to be something. It would be from form to form. It's not. Yeah, you're not passing your query redirects on.
You would essentially instead of making a multi-page form, you would break each of those pages out into separate forms, and then you would go into the confirmation for each of those forms and pass the query the values in the query parameters there onto the next page that contains the next form.
In the Gravity docs there, can you search for, I think it's called communicating or passing parameters from 2 forms? That one's not going to work. Let me look it up on mine. I've got it real fast. Communicating between 2 forms. I know it's on Google. Oh, sorry. 2 forms. Gravity forms. Populated form based on another submission. Search for that. Yeah. Okay. That method, Devin, is how you want to set up forms to communicate to each other.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is what we just mentioned, but it will walk you through step by step.
Yeah. And let's see, there was another one here. Inventiva Design asked one last question, all in caps. Should the billing address be placed before or after the credit card?
I would say
Before.
that the billing address should be placed before the credit card. Yeah, because you want the credit card to be the last thing they put in and just submit the form.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, honestly, like you could A/B test that.
Yeah.
And see what performs better.
Yeah, we did a talk which we actually haven't published yet to our YouTube, but it talks about best practices for forms, and a lot of it comes down to is the buy information or the critical, to purchase something information needs to be the very last thing, and it has to be the last thing anyway on a Gravity form regardless. But you kind of want to put it where you're putting their regular billing information, their email address, etc., and then take the credit card last.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Let's see what we got here. We have another question on see an update for drag and drop repeater fields.
Which that is on the publicly available roadmap.
Yeah.
This is one of the.
You want to show them that again?
Yeah, the Gravity Forms roadmap. If you go to support, and then you click the Gravity Forms roadmap link, it is on top right here under the plan tab. We do have plans for it, but if you are looking for that, please go into that item and mark how important it is for you, so we can properly judge what the demand is for it.
And Eric, you just ask as a feature request best submitted on GitHub or via support ticket. That right there is where you want to submit your feature request. Log in through your account, go to support, and you'll see roadmap.
Yeah, there is no methods on GitHub actually.
Yeah, none.
All our stuff is like private on there.
Okay, we're at 7:30. Any more questions, people? Any more want to come in to do a video call? Anyone want to jump in and like surprise us with a video call, with a surprise interview? Yeah. I hate to say this, was like, because I've used Gravity Forms since I first started with WordPress. So that was honestly one of the very first Forms plugins I ever used after Contact Form. And I never went back. It was one of those kind of things that I just can do so much with it.
Yeah.
You know, from like signing up for mailing list, opt-in forms to contact forms to even fun little, you want to show them, I like having a contact form that doesn't actually ever allow someone to do a contact.
How do you? Oh, well, let me show you. Actually, like I think I know where you're going with this. A good example of this, if you go to Easy Digital Downloads, if you go to their support page and you go to open a support ticket, they have this section here, like select a statement that best describes what you need for support, and you can select a common issue. They give you information here, stuff, and then they have at the bottom, I understand, but I'd still like to request a refund. Like all this stuff here that you're seeing, that's actually a Gravity form.
Yeah.
Like they're just doing, this is just a Gravity Forms form with a bunch of like a couple radio button fields, some drop-down fields, and then HTML fields that are just hooked up with conditional logic. And then at the end, that just, this is like another, I think probably a checkbox toggle that then shows the submit button for the form that takes you to their proper support form. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I love that. When I saw that the first time, that's what I did on my own home website, because people were constantly sending me emails for support for pods or for support for Gravity Forms or support for our meetup here. And I needed a way to route people away from that. So
yeah, it's a good way to put people like on a single page journey.
Yeah, exactly. No more questions out there. Shall we call it?
Let's give people another 2 or 3 minutes here. And then we'll wrap it up.
We'll give you folks a couple more minutes. Anybody wants to dial in? There's the video link right there. I'm posting that out again. Here, let me drop it on the screen just in case someone is watching and may not be. We love having people in for an interview. Let's see.
Yeah. Devin's got a follow-up to his previous question here.
What's that one? Hang on. Let's see. Oh, I see. Alrighty. Let me get rid of the banner.
Yeah.
I already did. Okay. Just realized by from page to page, I meant from field to field, where you break the form down so the user only gets one form field at a time in steps, just one form with answers reflected in URL. I don't have a comment on that one.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think you would like follow like what we talked about earlier about for the URL part, like using JavaScript to pass like the URL. I want to say it's called last form. Is like a type form alternative it's a plugin for Gravity Forms that allows you to create like those type form style forms where it's just a single question at a time.
Oh, you mean the conversational style?
Yeah, I believe that's what Devin's looking for here, where you can kind of like, this is last form, where you can like have one question at a time, like hello, and then keeps moving along like that. And then you could use, I guess, some JavaScript on top of it. That way, when they tab out of the field to push it to the URL.
Okay. All right. That was it on that one. Cool. Well, this was a fun little call, I'd say.
Yeah.
Not too bad.
Got through a lot of...
Oh, we got another one. Dum, dum, dum. Yeah. Scott asks, is there a native way to generate forms in a modal versus using a pop-up plugin?
Yeah. No, we don't have any direct support for showing forms in a modal. And I know, I think, Jim, you might be able to recommend, at least from the support side, like what are the go-to plugins?
Maker.
Because Pop-Up Maker.
I think it was Pop-Up Maker, yeah. I'd have to look at the support tickets. But yeah, if you bring that into our support queue, we can get you an answer on that one.
Because I know like there's some, just based on how the pop-up and the modal scripts like generate the pop-up in the modal, it can break Gravity Forms with how Gravity Forms loads in.
Yeah.
I
Especially if
believe
you got
Pop-Up
conditional
Maker.
logic.
Yeah. I believe Pop-Up Maker works with it, though.
Yeah. Yeah, that must be it. Okay. Love how they're just sneaking them in at the last minute. Oh, here's Elaine. She's got one. Any cool ways to use Gravity Form to help businesses cope with the pandemic? That's a good question. What I've been seeing a lot, Elaine, is a lot of folks are, obviously for like restaurant businesses, for their checkout stuff, since it all needs to be one order. Some folks have gone to using like a shopping cart thing or like taking their Square or something like that online. But some have just gone to, here's my product list. Tell me the quantity you want, what you want on it, options wise, etc., and build the order, and then just taking it in that way. So that's some options. If you're trying to if your business was already something where you needed to communicate with people, obviously creating a much more available and upfront form is going to help in that particular situation. Can you think of anything else on that one, Travis?
Not other than that. I think you covered it.
Okay. Got another from Kellen. Is there a filter I can use to hide certain field types from displaying in the WordPress admin? I'd like to hide fields we don't use at my company so that my team only sees a subset of them that we do use.
I'd like to hide fields that we don't use at my company so that my team only sees a subset. I think you're looking in the form editor to exclude the field types. I believe. Give me a second here. I think there is. I'm going to take a look at the code. I believe there is a filter for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I didn't know if that would be something for advanced permissions or not.
No, that's not.
Yeah.
Let me see.
Scott also asking that same option. Is there a way to conditionally hide fields by role? And if you're talking about fields on the back end, you mean on the back end when you're creating the form? If that's the question we've got for both Kellen and for Scott.
Is there a way to conditionally hide fields by role? There isn't, as there's no plugin that I'm aware of that does it. I know that's something that's been requested with the Advanced Permissions plugin. We definitely have it on our roadmap. Going back to Kellen's question about hiding certain field types from displaying like in the form editor, there is this gform field groups form editor filter. It's mainly used to like add new field groups or changing like the names of like field groups, where you could go loop through that and remove field types you don't want to be displayed from that groups array.
Yeah, and you could use that for doing the same thing with the role, because you could check if the person is logged in and determine what their role is, and then do the same thing.
Well, I believe what Scott's looking for is to hide like essentially conditional logic based on the current user's role.
Oh,
if I understand correctly. Yeah.
So you're talking about on the form itself.
I believe that's what he's asking about. Yes.
Okay. That's a good question. So again, if it was something that you did not get an answer for, you can of course bring it to support, and we can route it to where it needs to go and get you
gravityforms.com/support.
Yep, right there. Wonderful support form. Wonderful support people.
Yeah, that are available Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern time.
Yep, exactly. Gonna do last call on the questions, guys. Anyone want to join in through video chat? There's the link again. We'll throw it up here one more time. Otherwise, we're going to say last call.
Yes, Scott confirms conditional logic based on the role. And I'm not personally aware of any plugins that support that. I know for advanced permissions we have that on the roadmap, but I'm not aware of any other that exist that support that right now.
Yeah. So
I guess like the only, it's not the cleanest way, but I guess you could push the user role into a hidden field and then do conditional logic off that hidden field, but that wouldn't stop somebody from modifying that field, just like modifying the hidden value. Unlikely, but possible.
Very, very unlikely, but yeah. I've never gone. Can't even imagine doing that myself. Don't see any more questions, so I think we're going to call it a wrap. What do you say?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, folks.
We definitely got a very diverse set of questions tonight, from everything from
Yes,
the
we
basic
did.
roadmap questions to let's get into it with GF API and GF query.
Yeah, we did. So, let's see. Never even actually put my banners up there at the top. Shame on me. So, we are going to be doing an Ask Us Anything on the first Tuesday of the month, next month in June. That's our open meetup that we do for WordPress St. Petersburg. Come in, ask your questions. We'll be doing it on this same format, so folks will be able to bring in their questions on the call. In June 19th, I think it is. It's on our meetup. We have a Gutenberg talk coming up where we revisit the block editor in WordPress.
It'll be June 16th.
Yeah, June 16th. Thank you. I appreciate that. And that's pretty much it. We're going to be live streaming again in June because we don't know the situation of the COVID world. So I want to thank Travis, first off, for coming to our meetup and doing this for us. This was a great thing to do.
Not a problem. It was fun to be here.
Yeah, and thank all of you out there in YouTube, Facebook land for dropping into the call and being so friendly and nice and kind. Thank you, Kellen, for being our one, test video interviewee. And that's pretty much it, guys. Like I said, give us a like and subscribe here on YouTube if you enjoyed this call, and also check out our website wptampabay.org. And
also check out ForGravity.com. We make some pretty cool Gravity Forms add-ons that might be helpful for you.
They do indeed. They do indeed. So with all of that, let me make sure no other questions come in. Okay, no more questions come in. So we're good. All right, folks. Thank you for being here tonight, and we will see you in a couple of weeks. Bye-bye, all. Thank you for watching our recorded session from WordPress St. Pete Meetup. We meet twice a month on the first and third Tuesdays in downtown St. Pete at the Suncoast Developers Guild. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up in YouTube and be sure to subscribe and click the bell to be notified when new videos are added. Find out more about WordPress St. Petersburg at our website at wptampabay.org.